Of all the iconic creatures birthed by science fiction, few inspire as much terror as the Xenomorph. Sleek, black as night, driven by pure instinct, and armed with a double-jawed bite capable of piercing steel, the Xenomorph is evolution's darkest fantasy. Yet, despite its seeming perfection, the question lingered among fans and scientists alike. Could there be a weakness? Could logic, not brute force, be the weapon that brings it down? Somewhere far beyond Earth, aboard the research vessel Artemis V, a small team of scientists wrestled with that very question. Years of contact, countless battles, and heavy casualties had finally taught humanity one crucial fact. Brute weapons, no matter how advanced, often failed against the Xenomorph. Its acid blood corroded through hulls, its hide shrugged off standard rounds, and even when mortally wounded, it ensured death for its attacker through a final, desperate lunge. The answer, the team believed, lay not in strength but in understanding. Dr. Lisa Monroe, chief biologist aboard Artemis V, had a radical theory. Organisms are products of their environments, she argued during late-night strategy meetings. No matter how vicious or adaptable a species may seem, it must obey the laws of biology and physics. She hypothesized that the Xenomorph's supposed invincibility was an illusion created by fear and incomplete knowledge. Every organism must have an Achilles heel, an environmental need, a biological limitation, or even a psychological vulnerability. The trick was finding it. After months of preparation, a daring mission was launched. Not to kill the Xenomorph, but to study it. In the cold vacuum orbiting LV-426, the original discovery site, a synthetic ecosystem was built, one designed not just to contain the creature but to challenge it. Artificial caves mimicked the creature's home, with twisting tunnels, dripping slime, and artificial pheromones simulating prey. But hidden within the environment were silent sensors measuring every heartbeat, every breath, every microscopic change in behavior. The first thing they noticed was how temperature affected the creature. Though it could survive extreme cold and blistering heat, its reactions slowed under freezing conditions. Lisa noticed it in the way it hesitated to attack prey, its movements becoming less fluid, more mechanical. The team theorized that its exoskeleton, so marvelously adapted for terrestrial environments, became brittle at sub-zero temperatures. The crystalline structure of its armor flexed less efficiently, making it vulnerable to fractures and internal damage. More intriguing was the discovery concerning sound. The Xenomorph navigated largely by smell, electromagnetic sensitivity, and echolocation, using frequencies humans could not hear. Through careful observation, it was revealed that certain sound frequencies interfered with its ability to hunt. Low, pulsing vibrations around 18 Hz, barely perceptible to humans, caused the creature to react erratically, its movements jerky and uncoordinated. Whether this was due to physical pain or neural disruption was unclear, but the effect was undeniable. Another weakness emerged from an even more unexpected area: the Xenomorph's rapid growth. It matured from a chestburster to a full-grown hunter in mere hours. Such speed came at a price. The creature needed enormous amounts of energy, and when deprived of food, it weakened astonishingly quickly. Deprived of prey for more than 2 days, the Xenomorph's metabolism cannibalized its own tissues, weakening its muscle fibers and dulling its reflexes. Starvation did what flamethrowers and explosives could not. Armed with this knowledge, the team proposed an audacious plan. They would engineer a battlefield where cold, sound, and scarcity worked together to trap and defeat the Xenomorph. Yet science, as ever, is easier in theory than practice. The creature, nicknamed Shadow, was released into a labyrinthine complex deep within Artemis V. Temperatures were dropped to -20 degrees Celsius. Low-frequency sound emitters pulsed through the walls, sowing confusion in Shadow's predatory mind. Food sources, synthetic bait designed to mimic human pheromones, were placed at calculated distances, forcing the creature to expend precious energy for minimal reward. First, it seemed to work. Shadow's attacks became sluggish, its shrieks less piercing, its movements riddled with hesitation. The team watched from the control room, excitement mounting as their theories were proven true. Yet, as always, nature held surprises. Shadow adapted. It insulated itself by tearing apart machinery, weaving crude nests that retained warmth. It identified and destroyed sound emitters, even at great cost to itself, ramming them with such force that acidic blood sprayed in all directions. Perhaps most alarming, it began to show signs of rudimentary strategy, setting ambushes near the synthetic food, learning to conserve its energy rather than rushing blindly into attack. It was then that Lisa realized the full scope of the threat. The Xenomorph's true strength was not merely its physical prowess, but its adaptability. It was a creature forged by the harshest environments imaginable, surviving by changing faster than any other organism. Could turn weaknesses into strengths, given time. The team decided to escalate. They introduced chemical agents into the environment, compounds designed to disrupt the creature's neurological pathways. One of these was a synthetic version of a pheromone produced by the queen, the command chemical that controlled hive behavior. When exposed to high concentrations, Shadow reacted violently, thrashing against walls and emitting distress calls. It seemed the synthetic pheromone disrupted its sense of identity, causing a form of neurological overload. In a desperate bid, Shadow tried to retreat deeper into the complex, seeking escape. But by now, the team had anticipated its moves. Strategic bursts of liquid nitrogen corralled it into a narrow corridor where sonic emitters and pheromone dispersers saturated the air. Weak, confused, and trembling from the cold, Shadow finally collapsed. But the victory felt hollow. Lisa stood before the observation window, watching the creature writhe weakly. "We haven't defeated it," she said quietly. "We've only delayed it." The creature would adapt again. It always had. As the scientists discussed what to do next, destroy the creature, study it further, or attempt communication, a different question haunted Lisa's mind. If the Xenomorph could adapt to artificial sound, chemical attacks, extreme cold, and starvation, what kind of creature would it become after surviving all that? What horrors would evolution breed from this latest trial? In the end, the council aboard Artemis V voted to terminate Shadow. Liquid nitrogen flooded the containment unit until the creature was frozen solid, then shattered by sonic vibrations. No blood spill, no acid burns, just fragments of a nightmare left behind. The remains were stored in magnetic isolation chambers, destined for laboratories and dissection tables. But Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. As she reviewed the containment footage one last time, she noticed something chilling. During its final moments, Shadow had curled its body into a protective coil, shielding its core from the cold. Not a random reflex, but a calculated defense. It had learned. Weeks later, as Artemis V prepared to depart LV-426, an alarm rang through the ship. A containment breach. The team rushed to the secure labs, weapons ready, only to find the isolation chambers empty. Acid-burned walls, twisted doors, a trail leading into the ventilation shafts. Somewhere aboard, a new Shadow moved, evolved and enraged, smarter than before. Humanity had found the Xenomorph's weaknesses, but in doing so, they had forced it to evolve beyond them. The hunt was no longer about brute strength. It was no longer about simple survival. Now it was a battle of minds, of strategy, of who could adapt faster. As the ship's lights flickered and the walls echoed with a low, almost thoughtful hiss, Lisa realized the truth. They had not found the creature's weakness. They had become it. Far beyond LV-426, across the cold, endless dark, the Xenomorph's legend was only just beginning to evolve.